Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
See, a bone tissue, my drawings are not great, so I want to give a disclaimer. I'm not a biologist, I'm a chemical engineer, so I don't draw very well. But if I were to draw a bone like this, so this is how, let's say, a bone looks. If I have a fracture here, this is my fractured bone, and when it heals by itself, this bone healing would be like this. You would have some scar on the bone. Okay, so after healing, the bone will not look perfect. So this again is an impairment which can cause further damage. So you want to make sure that that doesn't happen. That is minimized. That's the kind of thing which we try to do. We try to approach it with that perspective, and when we do that, we can kind of accomplish what we want. So if you are talking about whole organs, we are decades away from that. We are not anywhere near engineering a whole organ in a lab. That's not something we have gotten to. Potentially we can, so we are working towards that. So the best thing we can do in life would be, if we can achieve this, the greatest thing is, if you go and instead of buying a paracetamol tablet in a medical shop, if I can just go and buy a kidney. But if I go and buy a tablet and I take the tablet, if I can grow a kidney, that would really be the best thing to happen, right? So this is science fiction, but we are hoping we can get to that reality in some way. So instead, maybe taking a tablet for a kidney to grow might not happen, but at least if we can go and buy a kidney off the shelf and get it surgically implanted. See, we have a version of that now, right? I can get a hip from a medical shop and get it replaced. That would not have been possible like 100 years before. Today, a person who is 65 years old, 70 years old and has a bad hip can go to a medical shop and buy a hip and get it replaced. A total hip replacement is something which is real. So why can't that happen for a kidney? It has not happened yet, but there is always research which is geared towards that. So that's what this field is all about. So okay, so yeah, main thing we need to understand is we will not aim for the matching the natural tissue every time. We will keep improving towards it. Even though we are able to go and get the total hip replacement today, it's still not as good as the natural hip. But it can provide the necessary healing for the period of time we are looking at. And one of the points which was raised was there is a lot of risk. You talked about uncontrolled growth and other issues which can have. See, these will be used when the risks are lesser than the benefits. Right? The benefits have to outweigh the risks. Anytime you undergo surgery, there is a risk. So if you are taking anesthesia, total anesthesia, there is a risk of you not waking up. That's the reality of any surgery even today. When somebody has to go under anesthesia, there is always a risk. But why do we go do it? Because the benefits outweigh the risks significantly. Based on that risk-benefit analysis is why you will make these decisions. If the benefits are definitely not outweighing the risks, absolutely nobody should go near some surgery, right? So that's the logic of it. So if a person will die without the surgery or without the treatment, and by doing the treatment there is like a 50% chance of them surviving or like surviving for longer, then that's a risk which you are trying to take. Okay, moving on to the next part, which is the repair. So controlled drug delivery is what we broadly talk about. So I had mentioned it quickly while we spoke in the previous meeting. So basically when a drug is delivered, you need to control the rate at which it's delivered or the location where it is delivered. So there are two ways, two things. One is temporal delivery, which is control over the rate of the release of drug. So you can either have a delayed release or a constant release or a predetermined release. Right? So you can control the way or time in which it is released. And then you have spatial delivery. So so spatial delivery is where you control over the location of the drug release. So you control it as to where it gets released and which point it gets released and so on. So this is more of a localized drug action. So you can either have it in by the placement. So you place it in a position where you have a specific release at a point, or you can also have a targeted delivery where the drug will go and act on a target site, which could be a type of cell or even an organelle. You can even target a specific organelle. So you can have combinations of these as well. Let's look at the different types of release. So if you look at the ideal sustained release, this is what it is. So you are going to have a profile where the release, the concentration will remain a constant over a period of time. So this is an ideal sustained release. Immediate release is what most of our drugs are, where you take the drug, the concentration goes up and the rate of release comes down, and the concentration will also keep coming down. Repeat action is where you have like dosages coming up and down. So this usually happens only when you take drugs multiple times. So that's why you take a tablet once in the morning, once in the afternoon, and once in the night. And then you have sustained release forms, which are more commonly seen in the commercial products. So you have the concentration going up and it starts coming down over a period of time, but it comes down slowly so that the dosage will not affect badly. Okay, so basically what we have is, so we have two ranges. Okay, so if you look at the concentration versus time graph, you have two things. One is minimum effective concentration and the maximum tolerant concentration. So if the concentration goes above this maximum tolerant concentration, it becomes toxic. If the concentration is less than the minimum effective concentration, the drug is not effective. So the concentration needs to remain between the two. So when you take a drug, concentration will go up, and then the drug will get metabolized, the concentration will start going down, and this is what happens when you take one drug. So your drug is effective only between this time period. So what you try to do is, you take multiple tablets. So what you do is, it goes from here to here, starts coming down, you take another dose here, it then goes up, and then you take another dose here, it goes up, and so on. So now the drug is effective from between these regions. But the problem with that is, this concentration will keep building up. So if you take multiple doses without proper interval, you will cross the toxic limit. So you have to give that correct interval. So that's why some tablets are morning and night only, and some tablets are morning, night, and afternoon and night. So depending on what metabolism will be for that particular drug. So this is one way. So what would be more ideal is, if it goes like this and then stays here. If it stays within that window throughout, then the advantage is, you are going to have a very long period where the drug is effective and you don't have to take multiple dosages. So that would be the best case scenario, right? So what would be great is, if you take one tablet and it will be effective for a period of 5 days for an antibiotic, or one tablet which will be effective for a period of 1 year for some anti-inflammatory treatment like arthritis. So that would be really great, right? So that's what we need to accomplish, and there are some risks to it. So if I want this concentration to remain a constant for a period of time, for a long period of time, I need to have a lot of drug reservoir, which means there will be a lot of drug I would have taken. So this needs to be highly safe. If at all this release mechanism fails and everything gets released at one time, it will be highly toxic and it will lead to serious complications. So that's called dose dumping. So when you're taking a drug and suddenly you have a lot of drug in your body, that becomes dose dumping. So if that happens, that will be a serious problem. So you do not want that either. Okay, so these are some of the strategies which people look at. So then you have spatial delivery. So let's look at cancer drug delivery. So how many of you know about chemotherapy? Have you heard of? Okay, so what is chemotherapy? Yeah, you put a lot of chemicals in your body which can kill cancer cells, right? So do you think these chemotherapeutic agents are safe? No. They can kill normal cells as well. They just kill cancer cells more effectively, but they do kill cancer and normal cells, right? So if you are taking, so that's why a person who is going through chemotherapy will have a lot of side effects. They will throw up, they will not be able to eat, they will lose weight, they will lose their hair. A lot of such complications happen because chemotherapy has serious side effects. And that's because the drug is acting all over your body. Usually chemotherapy is given as IVs, right? So it's given as some intravenous delivery. So which means it goes into all parts of your body. And when it goes and sees the cancer cells will die, but it will also kill other cells. It will also cause damage to other cells. So what if I can deliver this chemotherapeutic agent only to the cancer cells and it does not come in contact with any other part of your body? Would that be better? That would be significantly better, right? You want to say something? Yeah. Yes, that is called metastasis. Cancer cells can migrate to other parts of the body. So that would be a more advanced stage of cancer. So when you have that and you have different stages, different places where cancer is spread, then it becomes much harder to treat cancer. So they usually do something called a PET scan, which will PET scan, which will show where all the cancer tissue is present. Right. So most of the cancer treatment is effective only when it is caught in earlier stages where it does not spread to other parts of the body. The minute it starts getting spread to other parts of the body, it's almost impossible to treat cancer. And what you need to understand is cancer is not one disease. Okay, cancer is unique for every patient based on what tissue it is, what type of cancer it is. There is so much variation. That's why it's impossible to develop one drug for cancer. It's not going to be like some bacterial infection, right? So for a bacterial infection, you know this antibiotic is going to work. You can do some culture studies to identify the most effective antibiotic and you will be able to treat it. Here also they try and do that. They try to see which chemotherapeutic agent will be the best amongst the available ones. But it's not possible to have one drug which will treat everything. Sorry, you were about to say something?
I've actually read about this, that even though we provide chemotherapy and other methods to kind of kill the cancer cells, the genetic material in the cancer cells somehow are still present and they kind of infect the other healthy cells and still, cancer continues. So how do we kind of...
So there is a concept called cancer stem cells. So basically these cancer stem cells are ones which you cannot really kill. So the question is, there are some studies which show that the cancer cells can basically infect the normal cells and actually make them also cancerous. Yes, it can happen. So that's why you try to remove the entire cancer and kill all cancer cells. But unfortunately, it's almost impossible to kill all cancer cells. Because killing all, if you first order decay you would have studied, right? So radioactive decay is first order, right? So for first order decay, at what time will concentration go to zero? Okay, suddenly I'm switching gears into chemistry, but sorry? You haven't taught, okay, radioactivity you might not have been taught, but you would have still studied some first order. No, you have not studied that. Okay, so I don't know what is taught in class 11. So, so basically, it is more of an exponential decay. So exponential decay will go asymptotically with time. So only at time t equals infinity, concentration will go to zero. So the same kind of principle applies. So for all cancer cells to die, you have to use a very high level of chemotherapeutics, which will actually kill the patient as well. Right? So that's not possible. So you end up having to leave out some of the cancer cells, and those small cancer cells, a few small numbers, it end up growing back and causing more problems. And there is also this concept of cancer stem cells. Cancer stem cells are much harder to detect and much harder to kill. So those are some difficulties with respect to treating cancer. So, but what, that's more of cancer biology part of it. So what we try to do with respect to delivering drug is, we try to target the cancer cells more than the normal cells. How can we do that? So when we do a systemic delivery, this is what happens, right? It goes to all parts of the body. So instead, we want a targeted delivery where all the drug goes only to the cancer tissue. This would really be cool, because this can solve the problem of side effects. Right, so this will be more effective. This means I can take lesser amount of the drug as well. Right, so for the drug to be effective, so I said there is a range, right? Minimum effective concentration has to be reached. So for that minimum effective concentration to be present in the tumor, I have to take a lot more of the drug, because it's spread across the entire body. Right? You understand? So think about it like this. Let's say I have a bucket of water, and I have to add a spoon of salt to it, and if the concentration is going to be uniform, then I have to, and I want a particular concentration in one spot, I have to make sure the uniform concentration itself reaches that value, right? So instead, if I do not have a well mixed system, and I have a small, inside that big bucket, I have a small, let's say, box, and I can add salt only to that box, which also contains water, then I can reach the same concentration by adding much lesser amount of salt. So which means the other tissues are not going to be affected. So the same thing applies. Which I can use a lot lesser drug as well. So this would be very effective if I can achieve this. So how would I achieve this? So for that, what do I need to know? I need to know a lot of biology. I need to understand what is the difference between a cancer cell and a normal cell, and how will I be able to target the cancer cell. So is there some particular receptor or a marker which I can target? It's like when there is some receptor which is commonly present in a cancer cell but not as commonly present in a normal cell, then can I tailor the polymer in a way that it will go and attach to that receptor, and then I can deliver the drug to that particular cell alone. So these are some thoughts which we work on. Okay, so this is the broad idea of spatial and controlled delivery. And then, okay, I hope you didn't spill water. So then we have implants, which is for replacement of tissues. So when we are looking at replacing the tissue, we look at implants. These are basically going to be the good enough solution, right? So where we don't have an alternative, so we are trying to use something completely artificial, which will try and replace the function of the damaged tissue. Metallic implants are the ones which are most common. They have been studied extensively. A lot of commercial implants are metallic. So this can be traced back all the way to the 19th century. You have people who have tried to use gold, silver, iron and other materials as implants, but these were not successful until people understood aseptic procedures. So which was developed in the early 20th century by Lister, right? So this has a major role in orthopedic implants. So many temporary devices such as bone plates, pins, screws are all made of metals. So some of these are left inside, they are not removed unless there is like an issue with it, people don't remove it. If there is no issue, people let it be. Then you have permanent implants like the total joint replacements. You can have knee replacements, hip replacements and various other things which can actually help in healing of the bone in a much faster way. You also have orthodontic and dental implants. So these are some examples of like severe damage. So I saw a few sad faces who said they underwent root canal. So when it gets even worse, right, so there is a situation where you might have to replace the root itself. So then you have an implant, a dental implant, where this root is replaced with the natural, so with the metallic implant, and then you have the material which is screwed on top of it and so on. So this is like a dental screw and implant. Then you have vascular stents. So how many of you know what a stent is? Yeah. Yeah, it used to keep the veins open. So it's done for usually for heart valves, sorry, not valves, blood vessels near the heart. So it's called angioplasty, right? So when you do angioplasty, you keep a stent. So it's called stent angioplasty. So usually these stents are used for opening the blood vessel and keeping it in that particular shape. Okay. And then you also now have these magnesium based implants. So these are degradable implants. So as I was saying, this is more recent, where people are trying to use magnesium based implants, and which can also help in bone regeneration as such, right? So so then you also have ceramic implants. So dental implants, which we saw for metallic implants, can also be used as ceramic implants. And then there are bone implants are coated with ceramics. So what you see here is the hip and joint replacement. So what happens with the hip replacement is you have two pieces to it, right? One is the cup and another is the ball. And this ball is actually connected to the femur. So this rest of it will be placed inside the femur. Femur is the thigh bone. Okay, so it's the longest and the strongest bone of your body. So inside that you place this. So for this to have a proper integration, you may be having coating with ceramics. So this ceramics ensures there is better integration of the implant. So that's another place where ceramics are used. Then you also have polymeric implants. Wherever you need some flexibility and some soft tissues and so on, you use polymers. So examples include heart valves, other ducts, catheters, grafts. Joint replacements also can have polymer along with metals, right? So here you see that there is a polymer inside. So this polymer acts in place of the cartilage. Right, so when two bones come in contact, you have a cartilage which prevents the friction, right? So similar to that, this polymer will help in preventing friction and wear and tear to the implant. So intraocular lenses are another common implant. So where people use this, so when you perform cataract surgery and so on, right? People place in lenses. So this intraocular lenses are also part of the implants. So I'll kind of pause here for a minute, and then I'll try and answer any questions. Then I have my lab overview. There is a lot of slides here, so I don't think I'll have time to go through them, but we will talk about the general aspects first, and then if needed we will go into some of the topics which are there in my lab. Okay, so if you have any questions, anything that you would like answers for, this would be a time to ask. Yeah, please go ahead. Artificial heart, how does it work? So it has all electrodes, everything connected with, and it is you can use it as a complete mechanical heart, which is replacing the functional heart, and it has a much shorter lifespan, I think about 5 years or so, but it has been tested, and it has an electronic component which controls the pumping, and it just acts as a receiver and a pump. It does not have any mechanical movement parts as such. No, this one is syncardia. This has been tried to be placed inside the body only. It's not outside. Pacemaker is different. So pacemaker basically is an implant which provides the electrical stimuli to make sure that your heart responds properly. So your heart has these bundles which provide electrical stimuli, right? And that's how the heart beats. And when that becomes weak, your heartbeat becomes weak. So the number of beats per minute will come down. So you should at least have 60 beats per minute. So if it comes down to like 40 beats per minute, then there's not going to be enough oxygen and blood supply to your body. So when you want to regulate that, that's when you use pacemakers. So pacemakers can be used for the other way also, when you want to kind of slow down the heart, right? So that's also possible. So
you mentioned about dose dumping. What is
mentioned about, sorry?
dose dumping?
Dose dumping. Okay.
What is the difference between that and overdose?
dose dumping versus normal dosage.
Overdose.
Overdose. Okay, overdose. So dose dumping will lead to overdose. Okay, so overdose is when your body reacts to an excess of a drug. Dose dumping is more about the reservoir of drug kind of breaking open and releasing the drug. So it's a mechanism which will eventually lead to overdosing. Okay, so and that's when you have a reservoir of drug in the body. So overdose can happen just because somebody takes too many pills.
So these patches that we attach to the skin or bone during grafting, so do they also, like, do you, by manufacturing it, do we actually make spaces for the blood vessels, neurons and all, or are they just a piece of biomaterial?
So patches in the sense, so the question is the patches we use for bone and skin, do they have provisions for blood vessel formation? So patches, you mean like some grafts you are talking about? Okay, so these grafts will not have that kind of functionality. So if you are talking about an implant, these implants are actually barriers for blood vessel formation, because you are looking at a metal implant, right? So it's like a metal rod. So that will have no way for the blood vessels to grow. It's just a mechanical support which has been presented to the body. But if you are talking about regenerative grafts, so those grafts will basically degrade over a period of time, allowing the natural tissue to take over. So the natural tissue will have all the blood vessels. So people are trying to develop vascularized grafts. So that's actually a big challenge, because controlling blood vessel formation is not something which people have mastered yet. Because if you have uncontrolled blood vessel formation, then it will lead to a cancer tissue. So a cancerous tissue has a lot of blood vessels as well, right? So but they have something called leaky vasculature. So basically the blood vessels will form, but they will not mature. So when the blood vessel doesn't mature, when it starts growing very quickly, it will not mature. So when it doesn't mature, what will happen is you will end up with leaky blood vessels. So these leaky blood vessels will cause a lot of complications. So for that reason, so actually people try and use that for treating cancer, right? Because the leaky blood vessels is a place where you can actually dump the drug, right? So if you create a drug which will drug delivery system which will only cross when there is a leaky vasculature, and it will not cross the barrier of a healthy vasculature, then you can make sure that it is delivered only to the cancer cells. That's one way of targeting cancer tissues.
You talked about the mechanical-based and cell-based implants. So what kind of situations do you use the mechanical and when do you use the cell-based? Which is preferred?
I assume you're talking about scaffold-based versus cell-based. Okay, so scaffold-based. So the question is, there are two. You talked about two or three different things, like scaffold-based approaches, your cell-based approaches, and your signal-based approaches, right? So what are the differences and what would you choose? So that would depend a lot on the type of tissue and the type of injury. So if you are talking about a bone tissue, then you may not be able to use only a cell-based approach, right? Because if you have lost a lot of mechanical support, then you need to provide a structural support before you can start treating it with cells. But if it is going to be something which is a soft tissue injury, which doesn't have any load bearing, then you could potentially go with only a cell-based approach. So the best example I can give you is for cartilage. But most of the strategies today employ both cells and scaffolds together, because that would have the most effective treatment strategy. So I don't have the slides for that with me, but let me give you an example. So there is something called, well, maybe let me just see if I can pull out the slides. Give me 1 second. So basically, you know about cartilage injuries, like some articular cartilage injuries. Have you heard of that? So just 1 second. Okay, so the correct one, excuse me. இந்த லேப்டாப் கொஞ்சம் கனெக்ட் பண்ணுங்களா. So articular cartilage defect is something which is very commonly seen with respect to old age. Okay, so what will happen is, so we have our knees, so in the knee joint you have cartilage, so this cartilage will get damaged because of age, and when that happens it will cause a lot of pain. So that's why you will always hear old people complaining about knee pain and joint pains, right? So that's usually because there has been a lot of wear and tear in their cartilage, because they have obviously used it for much longer than the younger kids. So there is going to be a lot of, so thank you. So you see that this is what happens. So you see some kind of a defect in the cartilage, and this defect in the cartilage will not heal, because this cartilage is avascular. Avascular meaning there is no blood vessels there, right? And it does not, it's also aneural. So actually the pain you feel, person feels is not because of the damage on the cartilage, but because of the debris which is there, which will interact with the bone and the other exposed tissue, which has a lot of high nerve endings. So that causes a lot of pain. So this chondrocytes are also less functioning as you get old. So because of this, it does not heal. So this has a significant effect on the quality of life of a patient. So for that reason, you have to look at different treatments. So one common treatment is arthroscopic debridement. So what they do is, it's called an arthroscopy or arthroscopic surgery or scoping the knee. So all they do here is they cut the patient open and remove the damaged tissue and clean it up. So make sure that there is no debris there, and it's a clean wound rather than a damaged wound. So this actually acts a lot of, it has a good effect when it comes to pain. Does not heal the wound, but it will reduce the pain. A lot of surgery people have done it. This is commonly done in athletes if they want to get back to playing immediately, right? So this is a common surgery. So Graham Smith is an example, but if you do follow basketball, then you will see a lot of people undergoing this kind of a surgery. So it's a quick surgery, reasonably quick turnaround and so on. So then you have mosaicplasty. So mosaicplasty is a surgery where what they do is they will do the first debridement, where they clean up the wound and wound site, and after that they will take some pieces from the non-load bearing areas and use it as plug. So you can see that here. So here what they would have done is, so in this part, so the small plugs which have been removed from the cartilage has been used to fill the hole here. So this small pegs will help in healing. So now this is again an autologous strategy to treat the cartilage wound. And then you have something called microfracture surgery. So this is a very painful surgery, but it has been shown to be quite effective. So what they do is they remove the cartilage and actually cause microfractures inside the bone which is present inside the damaged cartilage. So because of this, this will release a lot of growth factors and clots which are formed, and this clots will have growth factors which will help in healing of the wound. So this is a strategy which has been used. So this is a very painful procedure. This has been done in many athletes, but the healing time is quite long for this. So, but these are all single surgeries, no? So, and then you have arthroplasty. So these are some common strategies. So so arthroplasty is where you get the knee replacement completely done. So these are all some strategies which have been used, where regenerative medicine has been used, where they try to use the regular tissue itself and try to see if it can heal. And this is a replacement. So coming to the tissue engineering aspects, so there are different strategies for it. There is something called autologous chondrocyte implantation. So what they do here is they will use the chondrocytes or the cartilage cells which are present in the patient's own body to create an implant which will be used for healing of this. So this requires two surgeries. So first surgery is done to remove cartilage from the non-load bearing areas, and then you grow these cells in vitro, and then the second surgery you clean the damaged area and you place this there and you allow the cells to heal. There are three generations for it. So the first generation is shown here. So this was the cell-based approach, purely cell-based approach. What they did was they took the chondrocytes, they isolated they took the cartilage, isolated the chondrocytes, and these chondrocytes in suspension were basically injected into the site, and it was covered with some flap, with a tissue flap. So what it does is it just holds the chondrocytes there, hoping that it will help in healing of the damaged cartilage. It was shown to be reasonably effective, but the cells will obviously leach out, and because of that it was not going to cause the best effect. So the next thing they did was, they again did the same thing, but instead of doing a periosteal flap, they used a collagen membrane which can provide some support for the cells to attach and grow. Okay, so now the cell suspension was covered with a collagen flap. So now the third generation, what they are doing is, they are actually culturing the cells on these collagen materials and using it for replacing the damaged tissue. So this is a combination of cell and material. So as you can see, these strategies keep evolving. So it's not like one is the best way to go and that's the only thing you have to stick to. You have to keep evolving and you keep upgrading yourself and so on. So I'll kind of stop here. So this is just, I wanted to show this as an example as to why there are different approaches and how different approaches can have their own benefits. And this is for a non-structural injury, right? If you have a structural injury, yes, you have to always have a scaffold, and then you may want to add cells to it as well. Sorry. Sorry? Yeah.
Trying to look at articular cartilages, so why don't we enrich the basement with like the synovial membrane and make it grow all by itself? Okay,
so the question is, can't we just try to grow the membrane itself? Like, can't we support a way? Can't we provide some way to for it to regenerate? So the challenge is, tissues which regenerate on their own, we can provide some support system to help them regenerate. However, if the tissues do not have natural regenerative potential, or their regenerative potential is low, it's very difficult for us to make them regenerate on their own. So then you need to make some modifications to the cells, or you need to provide enough stem cells for it to then differentiate into the particular cell type. Otherwise, it becomes difficult to achieve that. So it could be better, but the problem is when you are using stem cells, in vivo, you do not have a way of regulating the differentiation of the cells. You do not know if it will differentiate to the desired cell type, but if it's a natural cell, then you have that control. That's the difference.
So the initial part of the thing where you showed about the chondrocytes being developed into a nose, and that's the complete they both are chondrocytes which are differentiated. So how do we know? How do we construct an organ?
Okay, so let me try and understand the question. So you're talking about the skid mice with the ear, where I showed cowny chondrocytes being used, and what is the other one you're asking about?
Nose which is constructed.
Nose on the forehead. So
they are chondrocytes which are already differentiated.
Yeah.
Which so how do we construct it into an organ, right? Same cells giving different organs.
So no, it's not the chondrocytes are cells which are present in cartilage tissue. So these are similar cell types. So there will be different, depending on the source, there will be some differences, but basic cell type is still the same. Right? So think of it like this. So you have red blood cells. So if you take blood from your hand versus blood from your leg, it's still going to be red blood cells, right? So similar to that, the chondrocytes are chondrocytes, whether you remove it from cartilage in your ear or from your nose or from your knee. So they are going to be still chondrocytes.
So how would we have a control of whether the chondrocytes which we culture is going to become a nose or a
Oh, that depends on the structural support you provide. See, if you are going to culture it, see whether it becomes a nose or a ear is dependent on the functionality of it. If you are only looking at the aesthetic part of it, it's about the structure I provide. If I build a cartilage structure which looks like a ear, I'll call it a ear. If I build it like a nose, then I'll call it a nose. But whether will it be able to smell or hear is what will make it a nose or a ear. So for that, I need to have the nerve cells along with it. It's not the chondrocytes which will decide. Okay, I need to have other cells which are part of the tissue.
But talking only about the structure, also we have how is the structure developed? Is unique.
So how is the structure developed in the sense how do I create these 3D structures? So that can either there are different fabrication strategies to get these 3D structures. So you can either cast it or you can 3D print it. There are just various strategies to do it. Okay, sorry.
So, all of these methods of regeneration, could it be used to act on the immune system directly? Or
Could it be used to act on the immune system?
could it
Okay.
be used to efficientize the immune system?
Okay, so you want the immune system to be more active or less active? More active in the sense what do you think will happen?
In the sense of cancer treatment, should be able to detect the cancer cells on an earlier stage and kind of fight it off.
So that's an amazing question. So the question was, can we actually somehow tell the immune system to attack cancer cells more effectively, right? So can we somehow say, so that's a field by itself, that's called immunoengineering. So there is a whole group of people who are working on it. I don't work on it. So that's actually a cutting edge field which was probably something which came up in the last decade or so. So it's called immunoengineering. So people are working on it. So something you might want to learn about.
They have done something like that with the white blood cells. But the thing is, the white blood cells started attacking the body.
Yeah. So what you are talking about, so the question which is being asked is, what about if I do this, if I ask the immune cells to be more active, then they may start attacking our own body. Yes, that's called autoimmunity. So autoimmunity can be caused when you try to engineer immune system. So you need to be careful. Find the balance is the key. So you have different types of autoimmune diseases. Autoimmune diseases are really, really serious conditions where your own immune system starts attacking your own body. And then that becomes really difficult to manage. So it does not recognize that this particular cell is part of your body and it starts attacking it. So there are various types of autoimmune diseases. Multiple sclerosis is one. I think there's many. Sorry? Alopecia. I don't know if alopecia is autoimmune. I'm not sure. I don't think so. I'm not sure. Yeah. Any other questions?
You said about pancreas, right? So, if something happens to a pancreas, is there no other way to engineer pancreas, or what is currently being done?
Okay. Okay, the question is about pancreas tissue engineering. So as to what can be done. So pancreas is a difficult tissue to work with for a few reasons. One is, so what do you know what type of cells secrete insulin in pancreas? Sorry? Alpha cells, beta cells, they have those cells, right? The beta cells are the ones which secrete insulin, right? So the problem is these cells do not grow in vitro. When you have these fibroblasts or chondrocytes and many of these cells, endothelial cells, you can actually culture them in vitro. You can grow them, you can put them on a culture plate and they will start dividing and growing. These islet cells don't. That's one problem. So because of that, you can't expand these cells. So I can't actually get cells from a donor, grow it and then put it in the patient. Because the patient's own islets are not working properly. That's why I need to find from someone else. Now the problem is if I get from someone else, I cannot grow it. So then I can only, there is a limited source, limited availability. So and because it will not grow, I can't take it from someone either because then they will start losing the cells. So I can only take it from cadavers. So and from taking it from cadavers, there is only so much availability. And once I take the cells from cadavers, these are again allogenic cells. I can also take it from pigs. So that is what a lot of people are working on, trying to see whether we could use pigs' islets for pancreatic tissue engineering. So when you take these islets, what you try to do is, so pigs are taken to slaughterhouse all the time. So and especially in the Western world, a lot of piglets are also slaughtered. So the younger pigs are usually killed for food. So you do get a lot of neonatal pig islets. So that's not very difficult to get. So a lot of people are actually working on how to make these islets for treating malfunctioning pancreas. But the challenge, as I was saying, is how do you isolate it from the immune system? So when you talk about immunoisolation, so I showed somebody had coated, covered cells with a polymer and they were able to do it. That's what we still are trying to do. We try to cover these cells with polymers. There are different strategies. There are things like microencapsulation, nanoencapsulation, and different things which people do. So when you coat these cells with these polymers, what we need to ensure is these polymers are compatible and the immune system does not detect the cells which are present inside. So immune system has different mechanisms through which it detects foreign material. So one is through these large cells which are the macrophages, neutrophils and so on, and there are also large molecules like immunoglobulins. So these are all large molecules, these are like 70 kilodaltons and so on, right? So that's the size we are talking about. But you need the polymer to be able to allow glucose to come in and insulin to go out. Insulin is a 7 kilodalton molecule. Glucose is a small molecule, it's only 80 grams per mole, so it's a very small molecule, you don't have to worry. So if insulin can pass through, it's 7 kilodaltons. So if it's only immunoglobulins which are 70 kilodaltons, then you are looking at a filter which will allow 7 kilodaltons but not allow 70 kilodaltons. So that seems a little easy. So that's what people are trying to focus on. And then they started understanding that interleukins seem to play a big role in the immune reaction. And interleukins are in the order of 8 to 11 kilodaltons. So which means they are very close to the size of the insulin. So if I design a filter which will stop interleukin from entering, it also prevents the insulin from leaving. So that's where the challenges are. So developing this is where people are working on. So there was one report a few years back where they showed that this kind of a nanoencapsulation could work in a monkey. They tried to take a pig's islets, perform nanoencapsulation and showed that a monkey could stay non-diabetic for about 30 days. But the problem again they faced was the implantation had to happen at the site of the pancreas itself, which means you have to remove the patient's pancreas and use this as the new pancreas. And the minute this fails, within 30 days if it fails, the patient will die. So there has to be a way for it to be an orthotopic, so instead of an orthotopic implantation, it has to be implanted in some other part of the body. So if you can implant it in some other part of the body and still get the function of the pancreas, that's when it's possible, because you cannot remove the natural tissue. Like see, even if your pancreas is not functioning effectively, you can still survive. But if you remove the pancreas and whatever you are placing in fails after 30 days, you will not be able to live. So these are some challenges which are there in pancreatic tissue engineering. So it's one of the most fascinating domains of research. So Professor Langer, who I talked about, the chemical engineer who started this domain, so he is working a lot on this pancreatic tissue engineering. So there are some groups which are working. It's a very challenging problem to work on, which also is very cost intensive. It's not something which people in India have been pursuing simply because the funding we have is not something which can support that kind of work. So India, for all that we say about, still has a long way to catch up when it comes to funding for research and innovation, because we do have other priorities. Right? So we are a country where there are so many people who have so many other priorities. There are so many other social problems which need to be addressed before research and innovation can be prioritized. So it's a catch-22. So for that reason, I don't think there are any large groups in India which work on pancreatic tissue engineering, but there are some groups abroad who are working on this area. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah.
Immunoengineering, so if it's actually could also help prevent AIDS, right? Because it's overall the immune system.
Yes, so immunoengineering can be used for various things. So for treating immunodeficiency diseases, for treating autoimmune diseases, for treating cancer. So various kinds of things immunoengineering can be used to treat. So people are working on different aspects of it. So it's a huge field by itself. It requires a strong understanding of cell biology, immunology and genetic engineering. So I don't have too much of that. Coming from chemical engineering background, I don't really have that kind of a background. But yeah, there are lots of people who are working on that. You should be able to look up interesting articles and even some videos on this. Okay. Okay, so I think I'm kind of out of time. I have only about another 3 minutes or so. I'll stop here. So it was great interacting with all of you. So it's always fun to talk to kids and school kids who are enthusiastic. It's really a fun aspect for a person like me who comes and does our own work every day. And you're here not because you have been forced to be here, you have chosen to come here. So I'm hoping you make the most out of this experience. So have all of you started going to the labs you are assigned to? Okay. So please make sure you shadow the persons who you are supposed to, try and catch as much knowledge as possible. This is a unique opportunity for all of you, and make the most out of it. Have fun here at IIT Madras and explore the campus, enjoy the experience of being an intern here. Maybe in another year we hope to see you as a student here, and that would be really cool. And maybe some of you can come and sit in my classes, and maybe instead of just me boring you for an hour and a half, I can bore you for 40 hours over a semester. All the best to all of you. Thank you. Thank you.